Developing right now on Morning News Now, pressure and pushback over the seizure of an oil tanker from Venezuela. This morning, that tanker making its way to an American port in Texas, where the White House says it plans to release the tanker's crew, but hold the vessel and keep the oil. All this as President Trump vows to expand his anti-drug operations to land in a growing pressure campaign against Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, a struggle in the Senate as lawmakers reject dueling health care plans, leaving tens of millions of Americans in limbo.
The suffering of people is going to be enormous and heart-wrenching.
Healthcare is in a crisis. It's in a crisis. It should not cost this much.
And new developments in the case of a man at the center of a deportation debate after a judge ordered his release from ICE custody. We will take you to Washington for all the latest. Also developing flooding and flurries. This morning, Mother Nature showing no mercy on either coast. In the Pacific Northwest, entire neighborhoods left underwater after historic flooding, and another series of winter storms taking aim at several states this weekend. We are tracking it all for you. Plus, shock on the sidelines over the firing and arrest of Michigan football coach Sharon Moore. The new details coming to light. And a controversial partnership that could change Hollywood forever. Disney and OpenAI striking a licensing deal to allow the use of hundreds of fan-favorite Disney characters in its Sora app. More on the agreement and its impact on the entertainment world. It's also going to funnel $1 billion to OpenAI.
Yeah, it is. All right, good morning. I'm Christine Romans in for Joe this Friday morning.
And we're so happy you're here. I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you for kicking off your Friday morning with us. We are going to begin with President Trump ramping up that pressure campaign on Venezuela following the seizure of that oil tanker in the Caribbean.
Two U.S. officials tell NBC News the Trump administration has been interviewing members of the tanker's crew. They plan to bring that ship to a port in Texas where they will be released. It comes as the White House says it plans to seize the oil found on board worth millions of dollars.
The United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process for the seizure of that oil, and that legal process will be followed. We're not going to stand by and watch sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world.
Speaking from the Oval Office yesterday, President Trump once again said he would soon expand his military campaign against drug traffickers to include operations on land. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joins us now with the latest. And Monica, how is the Trump administration trying to apply more economic pressure on Venezuela here?
Yeah, they're really ramping up this entire pressure campaign. We have obviously seen the military aspect of that with these continued boat strikes on the alleged drug-carrying vessels. And now the fact that you saw this seizure of an oil tanker certainly does ramp up the economic pressure. It certainly amplifies that message and that continued campaign against the Maduro regime. But the White House is not going so far as to say that this should be viewed as an act of war. Of course, the president, if he was going to go to war with Venezuela, would need to seek authorization from Congress, and that has not happened yet. But the fact that they went so far as to seize this tanker, they seized it in international waters, and they are trying to essentially figure out what to do now with the oil, just signals that the president has basically been reviewing all of his options to see what else he can do, to see if there's anything that will force Maduro to essentially bow to this pressure and either cede power, leave Venezuela, or continue to have a dialogue with the United States about what the president wants to see happen here. So this just takes it to a new level. And certainly the president is continuing to threaten potential strikes, not just on land in Venezuela, but also in the region. He's been threatening the leader of Colombia as well, guys.
Monica, back here at home, I want to turn to President Trump's national redistricting effort. We've been talking about this all week. We've been talking about this for months. He's been pressuring Republicans to redraw their state's congressional maps ahead of midterms in the hope of picking up more Republican seats or holding on to them. Well, yesterday, the Republican-controlled state Senate, this is in Indiana, voted not to redraw their map. It would have wiped out the state's 2 Democratic seats in the House. How's President Trump reacting to that?
Yeah, this is essentially a rejection of President Trump's vision of what he wanted to happen in Indiana, as we have seen other states continue their efforts, as we saw certainly in Texas, as we've been seeing in North Carolina. Then, of course, you had California counter with its own plan to really redraw the map in order to potentially pick up more Democratic seats. But as for Indiana specifically, the president was not pleased about this, saying essentially that this was the fault of somebody that he now is saying he would back a primary challenge to potentially oust. Listen to a little bit more of what he had to say yesterday.
I wasn't working on it very hard. Would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that. I wasn't very much involved, but there's a man named Bray as I guess, head of the Senate. Whatever his primary is, it's, I think, in 2 years, but I'm sure he'll go down. He'll go down. I'll certainly support anybody that wants to go against him.
And another place where Republicans are looking to see if they could participate in redrawing the map is Florida. That's another place where there was a little bit of legislative action this week. We'll see if that's somewhere they can look to. But again, it looks like in the midterms, guys, that razor thin margin is just going to continue to be as razor thin as it is now.
Monica, before we let you go, yesterday the Justice Department failed for the second time in a week to get a federal grand jury to indict the New York Attorney General Letitia James on charges of alleged mortgage fraud. How big of a setback is this for the president?
Look, this is something that he has been very clear about pursuing, that the White House, the Trump administration, a few weeks ago said that they would continue to pursue this. So the fact that this has happened now twice, certainly probably, I would imagine the president hasn't weighed in on this, but he's probably not very pleased about this. He would like to see this case continue. Letitia James, for her part, has denied all wrongdoing. Her attorney continues to say that this is evidence that she shouldn't have been charged with this, that there shouldn't be anything that should continue with this, given the fact that we have now seen this come and go twice in the Eastern District of Virginia. So this just adds to the idea that, remember, also the case against former FBI Director James Comey was dismissed in recent weeks because of the prosecutor, Lindsay Halligan, being ruled unlawful. Essentially, her appointment there was ruled unlawful, so that was dismissed. And now you have this Letitia James headline. I think for the White House, they will say they will continue to try to pursue this. The Trump administration, the Department of Justice will continue to work on this, but this is just simply what has happened, and these are the facts. We bring them to you.
All right, Monica Alba, thank you so much.
Well, this morning, the man whose case has spotlighted President Trump's hardline crackdown on immigration is due for his first check-in with ICE just one day after a federal judge ordered his release from ICE custody. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was freed yesterday from an immigrant detention facility in Pennsylvania and returned home to his family in Maryland. It's the latest twist here in a case that began in March when Abrego Garcia was wrongfully deported to his native El Salvador. He was later brought back to the U.S. That was in June to face human smuggling charges and accusations of being part of Salvadoran gang MS-13. He denies everything and says he has not been convicted of any crime. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach joins us now. Gary, good morning. So just first off, walk us through why the judge ordered this release. I mean, this has been twists and turns. It's a little confusing. Tell us the thinking behind her ruling, how we got to what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, this has been quite a saga for Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his family. Judge Paula Zenas in Maryland ordered Kilmar released because she says there's no final order of removal that the government has provided to her that shows they're actually imminently ready to deport him anywhere, even though they've threatened to send him all over the continent of Africa, from Uganda to Ghana to Eswatini to Liberia. There's all kinds of locations that they said they were going to send him, and they aren't actually doing that. And Judge Paula Zenas said ICE custody is not supposed to be meant as a punitive measure. It's supposed to be meant as a short-term holding facility, and if they're not ready to deport him, he's got to be let out pending trial in Tennessee, guys.
And then, Gary, talk to us about this ICE check-in that he already has to do this morning. What can we expect from it? Is it normal to do that just one day after a release?
So as we speak right now in Baltimore, Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his family and supporters are gathering there. I think we may have a live shot of this for you. For an ICE check-in, this is what you see right now. You see Kilmar there on the left. You see supporters from immigration advocacy group CASA speaking right now. ICE check-ins are typically a time for folks to essentially check in, provide your address, provide your work history, talk about when your next court hearing in immigration court may be. But the last time Kilmar Abrego Garcia was on those steps of that Baltimore ICE facility, He walked in for his appointment, and he did not walk out. He was detained by ICE. So we actually do not know what's going to happen in the next few minutes in Kilmer Abrego Garcia's case in terms of what's next. He may be redetained, or he may be let back out pending his trial.
Gary, we understand the Trump administration is planning to appeal this, right? How would that work? What does that mean comes next in this whole saga?
So what we do know is that the Trump administration said they were going to appeal, but then they also did release him yesterday. He's standing right there on those steps. So in terms of an immediate appeal, it seems like that's out of the picture. But he is still pending 2 human smuggling charges in Tennessee related to a 2022 traffic stop that he had where he was pulled over by Tennessee State Police with several other individuals in the car. And so it does appear that they're certainly going to be waiting for that to try him in Nashville, Tennessee, beginning on January 26th.
And again, those live pictures there ahead of that ICE check-in for Kilmer Abrego Garcia. Gary Grumbach, thank you very much. All right, on the health front, millions of Americans could see their insurance costs skyrocket at the end of this year after the Senate rejected 2 dueling health care bills yesterday. A Democratic proposal to extend the Obamacare tax subsidies and a Republican alternative both failed to achieve the 60 votes needed to advance. Democrats' plan would have extended Obamacare subsidies for 3 years, while Republicans proposed replacing them with direct payments to individuals. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona joins me now with more on where this goes next. Really important for millions of people. Last night, Mel, President Trump called for the parties to work together to find a solution on health care. He has not actually endorsed any health care plan himself. And then Speaker Mike Johnson says he'll host another vote in the House next week. Is it clear what plan they'll be voting on?
It's not entirely clear, actually, what plan they're going to be voting on. They are still in the process of cobbling together a package in the House, mostly conservative proposals, things like health savings accounts, those sort of things that we saw in the Senate. There is not a discussion, though, of actually putting a bill on the floor that would extend the Obamacare subsidies. That is something, though, that moderates are still pushing for. They're expected to meet with the leadership later today before they leave town for recess. So perhaps there will be a last-minute switch here. But even if something like that were to be put on the floor, there's no guarantee that it's actually going to pass. And so the reality right now is that it is very likely that these Obamacare subsidies are going to expire before the end of the year. The question is whether the failure of some of these proposals, particularly what we saw yesterday in the Senate, can a bipartisan deal sort of arise from the ashes? Once everyone gets votes on what their preferred plan is, do they finally come together? The thinking, though, on Capitol Hill is that President Trump needs to get involved in a much more serious way in order for the two parties to actually come together. Because, as you know, Republicans are so reluctant to cross him on Capitol Hill that a lot of them don't want to make a deal with Democrats. They don't want to be seen as getting on Trump's bad side. Until he actually gets involved, says what he wants, what he would be comfortable with, we don't think there's going to be actually something that gets signed into law and put on his desk.
Let's turn back to that oil tanker that was seized off Venezuela, Melanie. President Trump says he's going to expand his military campaign against drug traffickers to now include operations on land. He has not indicated that he's going to seek approval from Congress to do that. How are lawmakers reacting to this latest escalation?
Well, it's mostly falling along party lines, which is not terribly surprising. Most Republicans, not all, but most Republicans are standing behind Trump. They say he was totally justified with these strikes and that they would support him if he decides to escalate his action further, saying these terrorists, in their words, these drug smugglers are direct threats to the United States. Democrats, however, say that there needs to be approval from Congress. So there is some discussion of forcing a vote on what's known as a war powers resolution. Essentially, that would require Trump to get sign off from Congress in order to do anything further in Venezuela. But I want you to take a listen to some of the reactions from both Republicans and Democrats that we heard yesterday.
The president is well within his authority to enforce sanctions. This administration is very much focused on pivoting away from forever wars on the sands of the Middle East and actually protecting the American people in our own hemisphere. So this isn't a one and done deal.
These are war powers that the president is exercising, particularly if he's talking about land strikes in Venezuela. You can't go to war without the congressional war powers authorization.
Now, we are some Republicans who are deeply uncomfortable with what Trump is doing in Venezuela. And of course, the America First movement, the MAGA movement, was built on the idea of being more isolationist, less interventionist, no more wars. And so this is a divide. We're starting to see some slight cracks in the MAGA movement on this and a couple other issues. But for the most part, Republicans standing behind Trump.
All right, Melanie Zanona. Thanks, Mel.
Well, now let's get to the latest on that catastrophic flooding in the Pacific Northwest. Overnight emergency crews in Washington state were outperforming swift water rescues as more rain fell in the area, causing floodwaters to rise even higher.
So far, nearly 100,000 people have been forced to flee their homes, many of them ending up in shelters, which are being set up throughout the region. Others are filling up sandbags to protect their homes and reinforce dams, as forecasters are warning the worst. Well, the worst is yet to come.
NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal is in Mount Vernon, Washington this morning, and she joins us with the latest. Camila, we saw this yesterday, just how bad it was. It is still going. What is it like where you are this morning?
Hey, Savannah and Christine, good morning. Over the last few days, we've just seen the water steadily rising, getting really close to some of these homes, forcing road closures. So many people in this area worried and actually under those evacuation orders. We did get very good news overnight from our weather unit, and that is the fact that most of the rivers in the state have crested. What that means is that they've reached their record levels and hopefully will continue to go down today. The river that you see here behind me crested at record levels. It's had huge impacts along this river in many of the areas. You see this entire section here is flooded. Now, the good news in this part of town is that the flood walls have been working. So there may be the possibility that a lot of these people that are currently under evacuation orders will get the news today that their homes are still safe, that maybe they'll be able to return home. But there is still this concern from officials and from many of the residents in the state of Washington, because the governor has told them that they have to remain on alert, that they have to continue to be ready to go at a moment's notice, because sometimes you don't know what the power of the water can do. And so especially after seeing some of these water rescues where people had to be pulled out of the water, and seeing some of the people that were impacted, like one of the business owners that I spoke to yesterday who was under 2 feet of water, it is not going to be easy for a lot of these people. That business owner told me, I'm going to take a financial hit. It's going to be a difficult recovery process. So in general, it looks like we're having good news here in the state of Washington, but of course officials saying it's not over yet.
Camila, I know this area has a history of flooding. Are people taking this seriously? You know, have you heard about many people trying to defy any evacuation orders?
I have. It's very hard for people who are used to this, who sometimes see the flooding. I spoke to a number of people yesterday who told me, look, I'm just going to watch it. I'm ready to go, but I do want to stay and watch as the river rises. And officials really warning against that. Here's what the governor said.
We understand that many folks have experienced significant floods in the past and that they may feel they can ride it out. The flooding levels we're looking at are potentially historic in nature. And so we just want to emphasize how serious the situation is.
And I talked to one person yesterday that evacuated, and she told me, I only have one life. And I think that's a great lesson for everyone who is in the state of Washington who's having to deal with all of this, guys.
Camila, as we said earlier, the flooding is expected to get worse. You did say that there is some good news for some pockets, but are people prepared? Are they hunkering down for this to not be over quite yet?
I think so. Everybody has been just paying attention, watching the news. There are some rivers that could crest tomorrow, and so I think that's also a concern for some of the people in the state of Washington. But everyone really has been paying attention to see exactly what happens next. We'll have to keep an eye out for our weather unit and for the news there in terms of the rivers cresting, because that really was the biggest concern. Even if it stops raining, the rivers don't necessarily stop rising, guys.
All right, Camila, thank you so much.
All right, now let's bring in meteorologist Angie Lastman for a look at the rest of your forecast.
We've got our weather unit on call. Angie's here in studio. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Always at your service, ladies. Good morning to you. Yes, we've got, of course, still some things to talk about across the Pacific Northwest, as Camila just mentioned, but we've also got some winter alerts that are up with multiple kind of clipper systems working across the east. So let's start there and move west. We've got 25 million people still under these winter alerts. You can see they range from winter weather advisories all the way to lake effect snow warnings. Downwind of the lakes, we're going to see some of that additional additional snow, but we've also got this batch of snow kind of working across parts of the Appalachians and moving out east. This is going to leave you with some slick conditions for sure as you get out the door early this morning. Here's the deal with more of these kind of clipper systems diving down from parts of Canada into the Rockies and the Midwest over the next basically couple of days. Here's what we've got today. The snow tapering off across the Appalachians, but we've got this next storm system kind of sliding to the east. This brings some additional snow to folks in that region, and then it continues to be on the move for tomorrow. You can see that storm works quickly across the Great Lakes, ramping up the lake effect snow, of course, but then we'll still be watching for that kind of rain and snow mixture across the Ohio Valley and parts of the Northeast. Closer to the coast, it's of course going to be the rain. Further inland, that's where you'll see that snow. The snow will kind of taper off across the I-95 corridor pretty early. We could see some snowflakes for sure as we get into the weekend, but the blustery and cold conditions stay with us across the Northeast, across New England. You'll still see that lake effect snow going on as we round out our weekend. And between essentially now and then, we could get some good amounts. Notice those higher amounts, of course, across parts of the Appalachians, and you guessed it, downwind of the lakes, up to 8 inches in Cleveland. We'll see maybe an inch or two in New York City, Washington, D.C. as we round out our weekend, and then up to a foot again, places like Watertown. You could see some really significant snowfall. Big picture look for your temperature trends. It's going to get really chilly, and we've already started to see some of that chill settling in across parts of the northern plains. These are temperatures right now, minus 34 in parts of the northern plains for what it feels like. The actual temperature in Minneapolis, 19, but feeling like 3. And you get the picture. We kind of see this cold settling in for the long haul. This is a look at Saturday morning, just 6 degrees, but feeling like minus 8 in Chicago, ladies. And this is going to be the ongoing thing. It takes us a bit to thaw out, even as we get into the early part of our upcoming work week.
Oof, that looks cold.
Yeah.
Thanks, Angie.
That's all I got to say about that. Thanks, Angie.
I know, I see my hometown on that map, and I'm like, wow.
Oof. All right. Luigi Mangione back in court today with a pretrial hearing now expected to stretch into next week.
Yeah, a judge must decide which key pieces of evidence may or may not be used in Mangione's trial for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Yesterday, the Manhattan courtroom heard testimony from 2 supervisory police officers who argued they did not need a search warrant to search Mangione's backpack when he was arrested at a Pennsylvania McDonald's last year.
NBC News legal analyst and our friend Danny Ceballos is here with us with more. Danny, good morning. Always great to have you with us. So right there, what Christine just mentioned, a big piece of this is that backpack. It's what evidence is going to be admissible. That is a lot of what yesterday was focused on. What happened?
Yes, it is huge, the backpack, arguably more important than suppressing the statements that he gave. But this is not a case where the case lives and dies on the suppression of the contents of the backpack. It would be a blow to prosecutors if it was excluded, but the case would likely survive because there's a lot of video and other evidence that have nothing to do with the Altoona Police Department's arrest and search of the backpack. And the argument for the backpack on the prosecution side is basically, look, this is what we call a search incident to an arrest. It is an exception to the requirement for a warrant. We're allowed to search once someone's arrested. It's based on safety because in their wingspan, they might have access to a weapon. And then once separately you get back to the station, there's what we call an inventory search so that the defendant later on doesn't say, hey, I had 30 Rolexes in there and you guys stole them. So they inventory. That's another exception to the warrant requirement. The defense is saying, all this is manufactured. You should have gotten a warrant. None of these exceptions should apply.
Danny, forgive me, but this almost feels like a trial before the trial. How unusual is it for so much of the case to be sort of out there before they even are actually trying this case?
My longest suppression hearing ever, I think, was 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Now we're going to be at 2.5 weeks. But in many ways, this may be the actual trial. Here's why. If the defense loses this case, they're going to have a facts of life discussion with the defendant and say, look, all this is coming in. This is not going to look very good. So if you are either going to be a martyr and go to trial and, make whatever statement you're going to make, fine. But if they lose this motion, the defense has to have a very real talk with their client about whether or not to explore a guilty plea. And that's whether or not the prosecution is even interested in any kind of plea.
Danny, this has gotten so much attention. I mean, the bizarre things, including what's going on online when it comes to Luigi Mangione. This is one of those cases that comes along where it's like, how does a jury not know so much? How do you think that's impacting this?
Yes, and in this sense, I agree with the defense in their frustration that so much of this has been released because this is a suppression motion. What is the point of arguing a suppression motion for the defense? The point is keeping this evidence out at trial. So if all of it's already out and everyone's already seen it, who's in the jury pool, why even have a suppression motion in the first place? In that sense, I do sympathize with the defense's argument.
All right, Danny Savalos. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, as always.
All right, this morning, former Michigan football head coach Sharon Moore is expected to be arraigned after being detained as part of an assault investigation. Booking records show that Moore was listed in custody this week, just hours after being removed from his position over allegations of a, quote, inappropriate relationship with a staff member. NBC News correspondent Shaq Brewster has the latest.
Former University of Michigan football coach Sharon Moore still held inside this jail, detained by police after his stunning firing. And now there's new dispatch audio describing a 911 call from an Ann Arbor home on Wednesday.
Subject just called the caller and told her there's a male at the location and the house attacking her. The state's been stalking her for months.
Moore is not mentioned on the audio, which was recorded around the same time police say they responded to an alleged assault on Wednesday afternoon, taking a suspect into custody but offering no further details. Police have not said that incident and the one described on the dispatch audio are connected. Approximately 30 minutes later, the university's athletic director publicly announced Moore's firing for cause, writing an internal investigation found credible evidence that the coach engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Moore has not responded to NBC News' requests for comment. The 39-year-old married father of 3 was named Michigan's head coach just 2 seasons ago after the team's national championship run.
We want to make sure that we're in the best position that we can compete on and off the field.
The abrupt coaching change now rocking the campus of one of college football's most famous teams.
It just came out of nowhere, so it was a bit of a surprise.
I feel bad that it happened, but I also feel bad if the allegations are true.
The University of Michigan is not commenting on the criminal investigation, but they've named an interim head coach that will lead the team in the Citrus Bowl later this month. Back to you.
Good, Shaq. Thank you.
We have much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, critics are calling it a problematic partnership. Hundreds of beloved Disney characters being allowed on a popular AI app, the landmark deal, and what it means for the future of entertainment.
But up first, developing news out of Gaza, where a powerful storm has devastated the war-torn region. We'll be right back. In overseas news, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is reaching new highs after a major winter storm battered the Palestinian enclave, bringing severe flooding and destroying camps. Officials in Gaza say at least 12 people have been killed. 27,000 tents sheltering displaced Palestinians have been destroyed. The Strip was turned into a wasteland during Israel's 2-year war on Gaza, and despite a fragile 2-month-old ceasefire, humanitarian groups say aid remains in short supply. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins me now from Tel Aviv. So, Matt, walk us through the effect the storm is having on Gaza. Local health officials say one of the victims was a baby girl.
That's right. One of the fatalities was a baby girl. We've heard from the Gazan health authorities that 2 children actually have died, both of them from hypothermia. Now, there are questions surrounding exactly what happened. And of course, we don't have teams on the ground who are able to find that out right now. But there are, it looks like, a total of about, as you mentioned, 12 casualties. 13 buildings collapsed because of the rain. Now, remember, this is a place where rain happens, but it's not all that frequent. So even here in Tel Aviv, people aren't necessarily prepared for a huge multiple-day storm like Storm Byron, which caused problems even here in Tel Aviv. But in the Gaza Strip, where well more than 1 million people have been displaced for much of the past 2 years, and where it looks as though, according to health authorities in the Gaza Strip, which is ruled by Hamas, that there are still hundreds of thousands of tents that have not been allowed by the Israelis in order to enter the Gaza Strip. Now, add on to that a lot of these tent cities, and most of the population of the Gaza Strip has been displaced over the past more than 2 years of fighting. That, you know, a lot of these tent cities that are housing these people are in low-lying areas. They're in sandy areas, on beaches. They're in places that are particularly uniquely vulnerable to flooding, and that's exactly what we're seeing now.
What are we hearing this morning from the UN and from humanitarian groups about all of this? And are they saying Israel is letting enough aid and supplies into Gaza?
Yeah, there's definitely saying that Israel is not letting enough supplies. You know, a lot of the focus has been on food and medicine up until now, but tents are particularly critical. And this is one of the reasons why in just the past 48 hours have we seen this huge storm and flooding. that we're seeing this need for more tents coming in. And people that we've been speaking to have been saying that they've been buying tents on the black market at hugely upmarked rates. A lot of these tents just simply collapse under the weight of collected water. That's one of the big issues here. Some of them just get washed away. Now, a lot of the construction materials that would be going into the Gaza Strip to do things like prop up some of these buildings that have collapsed because of the rain or provide temporary housing for people, they are considered dual-use technologies by the Israelis, and therefore they've been barred, not just since October 7th, but really for decades as part of this ongoing blockade of the Gaza Strip imposed by the Israelis and the Egyptians. And so that's why we're still seeing a huge lack of material support that would help these Palestinians weather a weather event like this.
And all of this is happening, Matt, amid questions over the future of Gaza and when this phase 2 of the peace plan might come into effect. What's the latest there?
Yeah, well, it looks as though this whole situation is careening toward phase 2 without really much of a phase 2 to happen. The fact is that only one dead hostage remains in the Gaza Strip. So far, Hamas and its partner groups have handed over 20 living hostages, 27 dead hostages, and that final dead hostage, as part of that deal, his body has actually just been, according to Israeli officials, identified, or the location of it has been identified. So we could see that body handed over very soon, at which point phase 1 of the ceasefire is over. The Israelis have done their part to withdraw to the so-called yellow line inside the Gaza Strip. At that point, both sides, and this was all supposed to happen within the first 72 hours, at that point, we're supposed to start seeing the establishment of an international stabilization force that would impose peace on the Gaza Strip. We're supposed to see this board of peace that will be led by Donald Trump, disarmament of Hamas. None of these things have been agreed on, and none of the details have actually been a subject of real negotiations that would really identify what phase 2 will look like.
All right, Matt Bradley. Thanks, Matt, so much. More developing news. Thailand is dissolving its parliament amid escalating tensions with Cambodia. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjen joins me now with that take us around the world in 60 seconds. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning, Christine. And it was made official today with the King of Thailand giving his approval. The parliament has been dissolved with elections to be held in the next 60 days. What triggered the dissolution? A bill to amend the constitution to make it more democratic. Now to the English city of Bristol, where in the early hours of one September morning, 600 high-value artifacts were stolen from a building being used as storage by a museum. 4 men broke in and made off with items belonging to the British Empire and Commonwealth collection. Police are now appealing to the public in help for identifying the suspects. And finally, to Australia. And oh my Lord, watch as this skydiver dangles from a plane after his backup parachute opened as he jumped. You see him dangling from the plane's wing flap. He was able to cut the cord and miraculously land safely with only minor injuries. Can you say heart-stopping? Oh my God.
It's a lot of my fears all tied up into one in that video, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Exactly.
Danielle, thank you so much. Coming up on Morning News Now, a common beauty routine could be costing people their health.
Really what we need is to remove the hazardous chemicals from nail products altogether.
Up next, the renewed call to make popular salon products safer. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Chemicals used in nail salons have been known to be linked to reproductive health issues for years. But experts say more research is needed to make salon products safer. This comes amid growing health concerns from the women who work there. NBC News Daily anchor Zincle Esamoah spoke with a longtime nail tech who believes her job affected her son's health.
Hey there. Today, there are growing calls for more regulation of cosmetic products right here in the United States. Earlier this year, a group of Democratic lawmakers introduced the Safer Beauty Bill package with hopes of revamping federal cosmetic laws. I sat down with nail salon workers who tell me they're worried about their health.
For nearly 20 years, Joanne Nguyen has been a nail technician in Los Angeles. It's a job the 55-year-old loves, but she also says it's had a major impact on her health and that of her children.
The birth of your second son sounds dramatically different from the first.
Yeah, first it's the 8 ounce, big one. Skin is white, and the second is small one. It's the skin red and some dry skin.
Wynn says she did not work at a salon for her first pregnancy, but for her second son, born in 2006, she worked in a salon up until her delivery date. She says that son was born with a skin condition and asthma.
Chứ không có muốn con mình bị bệnh này bệnh kia. Thì mình nghĩ chắc tại hồi đó mình đi làm mình không có lo take care good.
I sense some sadness from you.
Yeah. Thì mình không có muốn như vậy.
How do you as a mother feel?
Không có vui. Tại bây giờ nó cũng như vậy, nó cũng phải dùng thuốc. Khi mà khí hậu đổi nó cũng phải dùng cái đồ bơm để mà nó thở.
Now, 19 years later, she says her son is still struggling with these conditions.
Has a doctor or medical professional ever suggested that your son's conditions may be a result of the work you do as a nail salon worker?
Mình hỏi đó, có phải là mình làm trong cái tiệm nail nhiều quá không, có ảnh hưởng tới con mình không, thì bác sĩ nói là chắc là có như thể như vậy tại vì
Wynn's story may not be an anomaly. Multiple studies have identified correlations between harsh chemicals used in nail salons and respiratory issues, skin conditions, cancer, birth defects, and miscarriages. But these studies have small sample sizes and more research is needed. The Personal Care Products Council telling NBC News in a statement the safety of consumers and workers, including nail salon professionals, is a top priority, adding in part, we will continue to take a science-driven approach to deliver safe and effective products that consumers use every day.
Every profession comes with its risks. What is specific to nail salon workers?
Well, the use of hazardous chemicals in cosmetics does pose some significant safety concerns for nail salon workers.
Julia Varshavsky conducted a 2020 study finding nail salon workers had elevated phthalate metabolites, which are known endocrine disruptors.
So phthalates in particular have been linked to a wide range of health impacts, and it doesn't mean that every person exposed is going to experience that or some adverse effect, but it does increase the risk.
Now, federal lawmakers have drafted the Safer Beauty Bill package, a suite of 4 bills including proposed protections for salon workers and transparency in the cosmetic supply chain.
This is, again, everything from toothpaste to makeup to hair products. I mean, it's really a systemic problem. So we need that transparency, that accountability, and those regulations.
Multiple states have enacted or planned legislation restricting chemicals found or added to cosmetics and personal care products. And more state legislatures are currently considering such bills, but no nationwide mandate exists.
Really what we need is to remove the hazardous chemicals from nail products altogether.
Today, Wynn is a member of the California Healthy Nail Salon Collaborative, advocating for more transparency. She's hopeful the work of nail technicians can be done with dignity and safety.
Mình có thể giúp cho bạn bè mình, rồi cũng có thể giúp cho con cái mình, rồi mình hiểu được cái sức khỏe về vấn đề sinh sản của mình.
It's so pretty, I love it.
And it is worth adding, we have seen more regulation of cosmetic products overseas. Just months ago in September, the European Union banned one of the key ingredients often found in gel nail polishes from being manufactured, sold, or commercially used. That ingredient is known as TPO. European regulators classify TPO as a carcinogen with the potential to be toxic to reproduction. In the U.S., TPO remains legal and unrestricted both in use and sales. So many people, like the women I spoke to, are hoping for more changes at the federal level.
Okay, so for more on that, NBC News tech contributor Joanna Stern joins me now. She is also the senior personal technology columnist at the Wall Street Journal. Joanna, good morning. Let's dive into this fascinating deal, 3-year exclusive agreement between Disney and OpenAI launching next year. Disney has also filed multiple lawsuits over copyright issues with other AI companies. Break it down for us. Why is this agreement such a big deal?
Yeah, look, this has been the story of the last number of years around IP and AI. And can AI companies just go out on the internet and use whatever they find to train their models? And so what we have seen is either companies decide route A, they're going to take legal action. They see that this AI company is taking their IP, their characters, their writing, whatever it may be, and they sue them. Or route B, where they partner with the companies. And that's what we're seeing here with Disney and OpenAI. And it is one of the biggest deals we have seen now in terms of licensing. But not only is there licensing, Disney is giving money, $1 billion to OpenAI. And so this is also a huge deal because we've just seen a series of deals lately where OpenAI is getting money from others in the industry This is the first in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, if you can't beat them, join them seems to be sort of like the strategy in that Route B you're talking about. Okay, so the Disney CEO, Bob Iger, he says this deal is not going to be a threat to creators. He says it's going to honor and respect their work because of licensing fees. So how is that going to work?
Well, look, there's a couple of ways I think Iger's arguing this. One, they're getting money, right? Or there's a deal here where there is actual permissions in place. And so these companies, or OpenAI in this particular case, is not taking anything without the permission of Disney. And there are guardrails or parameters around that. So as we heard in the package that Savannah did, there's going to only be 200 characters right now. They don't have voices. So when you generate these, they likely won't talk. There will be some other sorts of audio pieces, but it won't be the voice of Elsa or the voice of Mickey Mouse. And then around that, even further, there are guardrails around how these characters can be used. So ideally, hopefully, Disney and OpenAI have come to a lot of agreement around not seeing these in inappropriate contexts, doing illicit things. And so there's a lot more protection now around Disney's IP than there might have been in the past when they were just ripping it off.
Yeah, Joanna, what's the most concerning aspect of the deal?
Honestly, to me, it's not something about the actual deal. It's about the idea that AI is being pushed in front of kids. I mean, Disney is an iconic younger brand, and I have big fears about how kids are going to interact with AI. And here we have the largest entertainment company around children and the characters they love saying, hey, you're going to be able to generate our characters using AI.
So let's talk about regulation then. Congress stalled on any AI regulation on the federal level. Several states have passed laws related to AI. The Trump administration is pushing for less regulation of the industry and doesn't want a patchwork of state rules. So what's this going to look like?
Look, this recent news about not having the state rules is good and bad. On one hand, we're not going to end up with a patchwork of states that one state decides this, one state decides that, and hopefully we end up with something that's uniform and at the federal level. That's the big question. How far is the federal level going to go, where certain states have been very aggressive, very on the side of consumers to protect not only the consumer and what they're seeing, but to protect creators like we've been talking about in terms of their IP.
All right, Joanna Stern, fascinating. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Joanna. Staying with business headlines, instant messaging website Reddit is challenging Australia's new social media ban for teens under 16 years old. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, Christine. That's right. One of the world's strictest safety crackdowns on social media is hitting a major roadblock. In Reddit's lawsuit, the company is arguing that Australia's ban on social media for people younger than 16 interferes with free political communication that's protected by the Constitution. Reddit says the ban should be declared invalid, and even if it's not, that the company should be exempt because it doesn't meet the definition of social media. The government says it will fight the lawsuit, quote, every step of the way. And sticker shock is hitting World Cup fans. They are blasting FIFA after new 2026 ticket prices surfaced, showing group stage seats ranging from $180 to $700, with final tickets topping out at more than $8,000. On the World Cup's website, it says group stage tickets start at $60. The fan group Football Supporters Europe is calling on FIFA to immediately halt sales, saying ordinary fans could be priced out. FIFA hasn't responded to our request for comment. Finally, McDonald's Netherlands says it's removed an AI-generated Christmas ad after it received backlash online. Titled "The Most Terrible Time of the Year," the spot showed scenes of Christmas chaos with new lyrics to the tune of the iconic holiday song. The company telling NBC News it was intended to reflect the stressful moments that occur during this time of year, but it recognizes that for many guests, it is in fact the most wonderful time of the year. So, Christine, it seems people were not loving it.
Yeah, very well played. All right, Emily, nice to see you, Emily Lorsch. All right, I want to take a minute to tell you about something really important here, new in our NBC News app. You can now sign up for a subscription to get the best of NBC News with fewer ads, including ad-free articles, podcasts, full shows, plus exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access to our reporters on the ground. Just scan the QR code to learn more. Coming up, a fond farewell to a familiar face for you at home and a familiar member for us here at NBC News, Rahema Ellis. We're going to look back at her distinguished decades-long career as she begins her next chapter. You're watching Morning News Now. And finally this hour, a tribute to a very beloved member of our NBC News family, Rahema Ellis. She's a correspondent so many of you have watched over the years, reporting from both right here in New York City and around the world. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas has a look back at her storied career.
Throughout her career, Rahema Ellis covered so many stories. One of her beats and her passion, education. In New York, love was on display.
Can we see your card? This is the best part about a Mother's Day, when you get smothered by children.
In Philadelphia, 8-year-old Zion Harvey showed us what determination looks like. Zooming down the hospital hallway before becoming the first child to receive a double hand transplant. We saw him shortly after surgery and a year later.
Oh my goodness!
Zion learning to grab hold of his new world.
What you can do.
Before you quit and say, I give up, try everything first.
NBC's Rahema Ellis is in Goma again tonight.
There was hardship and heartache overseas.
What's happening to the refugees is devastating Rwandan families and robbing the children of their childhood. I can barely hold my position here because the wind is that strong.
Back home, there were lots of storms. Katrina was among the biggest.
You can see the mold on the wall there where the water line was.
All over the floor.
In New York, Rahema witnessed firsthand the horror of the terrorist attack on 9/11.
It's 11:45 in the morning, and there is a mass exodus from downtown New York City. You can take a look, and you can see hundreds of thousands of people leaving the area.
Tragedy or triumph, Rahema was always on the front lines. Like when she profiled Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, a school making a difference.
A lot of people will see your video and they'll say, it's a dance school. What do you say?
That is totally untrue, because here we work very hard, very, very, very hard.
Rahema's countless stories touched us all and inspired us along the way.
She's just the best. Thanks to Tom Yamas for sharing part of Rahema's story with us. We're so proud of everything she has accomplished, and she'll be very missed here in the halls at 30 Rock. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now. And good Friday morning. I'm Christine Romans in for Joe. Savannah will be joining us a bit later in the morning. Right now on Morning News Now, historic flooding. The Pacific Northwest facing record flood levels after days of torrential rain. Tens of thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate across Washington state, with damaged roads closed, several rivers at historic highs. But forecasters predict the worst is still to come. We're going to bring you the details from the ground, along with the latest forecast across the U.S. Meanwhile, escalating tensions. The Trump administration now planning to hold that oil tanker it seized near Venezuela in Texas, but release its crew. It comes as the U.S. imposes sanctions on 3 members of the Venezuelan leader's family. So where does the conflict go from here? We'll have the latest. Plus, lawmakers on Capitol Hill facing a fight of their own to protect health care for millions of Americans after 2 bills failed to pass in the Senate yesterday. Hope is fading that lawmakers will agree on a plan to avoid a huge hike in premiums before subsidies expire at the end of the year. I'll tell you where things stand on the Hill this morning. Also this hour, talking toys.
How will you feel if I have to go today?
I would feel a little sad because I love spending time with you.
Toys with built-in artificial intelligence are raising red flags over child safety. What the experts say about the data they can collect and how your kids can use them safely, coming up. And finally, it's Friday, which means it's time for our can't miss list. From a behind-the-scenes look at Taylor Swift's Eras Tour to a star-filled comedy, Ella McKay. We're going to bring you the best movies and entertainment to watch as you head into the weekend. We start this hour, though, with a look at the torrential rains leading to flash flooding out on the West Coast. Emergency crews were called on to perform swift water rescues overnight after the relentless rain has been pounding the region for days. The downpours have now forced the evacuation of nearly 100,000 residents. And while shelters are being set up throughout the region, people are taking steps to protect their homes, with forecasters predicting the worst is yet to come. We're going to get the rest of today's forecast from Angie Lastman shortly. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal. She is in Mount Vernon, Washington, with the latest. Camila, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Christine. Over the last couple of days, we've seen the water steadily rising, forcing many road closures, getting close to a lot of the homes here. The river that you see behind me, that crested at record levels. It's impacted a lot of the areas around the river. It's since gone down a few inches, but nonetheless, officials across the state and many of the residents on high alert, especially after seeing people pulled out of the water by rescue crews.
Across Washington state this morning, swollen rivers are at historic highs, with water spilling over their banks, wreaking havoc in multiple communities.
My house is underwater and I don't know what's left.
The flooding driven by a powerful atmospheric river that's dumped as much as 16 inches of rain in parts of the state. The deluge submerging entire neighborhoods, destroying homes and businesses.
I just literally watched the water come underneath our shop doors and it just started filling straight up.
Many were left stranded, leading to dramatic rescues. The Coast Guard using helicopters to save this man from his home. The governor urging residents to take evacuation warnings seriously. And what do you anticipate for the next couple of days?
When you're facing truly historic levels of rising floodwaters, you're in uncharted territories.
With 7 rivers in Washington state experiencing major flooding, swift water rescue teams have been racing to reach stranded people. Officials say the area's levees and dikes are straining to hold back the water.
We don't know what exactly will happen when those floodwaters come through.
The rush now on to protect lives and property from floodwaters that may not be done rising.
And most of the rivers across the state have crested. That means that today they will likely continue to just go down. We'll have to wait for the sun to rise to really assess the damage. But we do believe the flood walls are working. And there is a possibility that a lot of the people that are under evacuation orders will be told today that their homes are safe, guys.
All right, Camila, stay safe yourself. Thank you so much.
Let's check in now with meteorologist Angie Lastman for a look at this and your weekend forecast.
Yeah, good morning, Angie.
Hi, ladies. Good morning to you. As Camila just mentioned, we've got some rain kind of still lingering, but it's minimal. We're going to see that continue to wind down. But in the meantime, still have those flood alerts for really the western half of Washington, including Seattle and Mount Rainier. Those are going to continue through the day today as we pick up maybe an additional upwards of a half an inch, maybe an inch closer to the coast. And the farther north you go, the problem really does come with the fact that we've still got some river flooding. And you can see those 7 rivers that are under major flooding stage right now. All of them have crested. So we will start to see them come down. The only problematic thing that we could potentially see would be a levee break or something like that. But we will see improvements across this region as the next couple of days go on. Meanwhile, bitter cold is going to settle in here across parts of the northern plains and the Great Lakes and the Midwest. And we've got right now temperatures expected to dip below 0 across the northern plains for the actual temperature, and then significantly below 0 for what it feels like. Minus 34 for the northern plains, 17 for what it feels like in Omaha today, just 3 degrees for your feels like temperature in Minneapolis. And these temperatures don't improve much by the afternoon hours and even into tomorrow morning. There's single-digit actual temperatures in Chicago, 25 below for what it'll feel like when you get out the door tomorrow morning in Minneapolis. And farther south, it isn't much better. We've got teens for Columbus and Kansas City, and New York City feeling like 25 degrees tomorrow morning as you get your Saturday started. Here's the afternoon temperatures. Again, single digits across the board with feels like temperatures well below 0. I keep coming back to Minneapolis, but it's 22 below for your Saturday afternoon high temperature. Significant cold air will settle in, and this leaves us kind of waiting to thaw out even as we get into the early parts of next week for some of these spots. So Chicago, you're at 12 on Sunday. You eventually rebound to 36 degrees by the time we get into the early part of our work week. We've got 30s across the board in New York City, 40s for Atlanta, ending up back into the 50s by Tuesday. That sounds balmy to me, but it'll be a bit of a slow thaw for folks there. And guys, it's Friday, and you know what that means? It means we are doing the Green for Good Challenge. Just a reminder, Wicked and NBC Universal, a partnership to kind of embrace Elphaba's good spirit. And so we're going green in some ways. So all of this, of course, you have to use the hashtag Green for Good, add your city, add tag somebody else, and then tell us what your good habit is for the next couple of days. Here's mine. This is kind of easy because I live in New York City. I can't lie.
New ones this week.
Yes, a new one this week. So for today, it's going to be greening my commute. So maybe walking. I know it's a little chilly in some spots, but Atlanta, 51 degrees. You could walk in that weather.
For sure.
You get on some public transportation, maybe carpool with some friends, and all of this, of course, to help reduce our impacts on the environment. And it could be anything.
Bike. You can bike.
It can be anything, guys. It can be, you can make some art. You can do literally anything. Just put it on social media, and NBC will plant a tree in your honor with Rewild.
I really have been using totes since you made me think of that last week.
See, we are doing good.
All right, hashtag Green for Good. Green for Good.
Thanks,
Love it.
Angie. You got it.
Thank you. See you in a bit. Well, this morning, tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela continue to rise following the seizure of an oil tanker in the Caribbean earlier this week. 2 U.S. officials tell NBC News the ship will soon be brought to a port in Texas as the Trump administration launches a legal process to seize the oil found on board. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has the latest on this one. Peter, good morning.
Savannah, Christine, good morning to both of you. When the president was first asked what would happen with that oil, he said he assumed the U.S. would keep it. And now the White House is confirming those plans. As you note, the tanker that officials tell NBC News was seized in international waters will now travel to a port in Texas as President Trump pushes forward with his effort to turn up the heat on Venezuela, even as criticism grows.
Overnight at the White House, President Trump hosting a black tie ball for members of Congress. It comes as the U.S. is ramping up its pressure campaign against Venezuela. The Treasury Department imposing new sanctions on that country's oil-based economy and on members of its authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro's family, specifically targeting 3 of his nephews. The president is now eyeing an expansion of U.S. operations there after months of military strikes targeting alleged drug boats.
We'll start that on land, too. It's going to be starting on land pretty soon.
The escalation comes as the U.S. is moving to keep tens of millions of dollars worth of oil from the large tanker Skipper that it seized off Venezuela's coast. The White House says it will follow a legal process to do so.
We're not going to stand by and watch sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world.
2 U.S. officials tell NBC News the administration plans to bring the tanker to an American port in Galveston, Texas. Those officials say the U.S. has been interviewing members of the tanker's crew and plans to release them once the ship docks. A federal judge signed off on a seizure warrant ahead of Wednesday's operation. The Justice Department says the tanker is part of an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations, transporting sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. The Venezuelan government has condemned the seizure as blatant theft. Democrats are denouncing the president's strategy in Latin America.
He seems to be sleepwalking into a war with Venezuela.
Republicans are largely backing the president, who was just asked about his rationale for the campaign, accusing Venezuela of sending drugs and criminals to the U.S.
It has to do with a lot of things. They've treated us badly, and I guess now we're not treating them so good.
And as all this is happening, Russian President Vladimir Putin just spoke by phone with Nicolas Maduro yesterday, according to the Kremlin, reaffirming his support, Russia's support for Venezuela's authoritarian leader, even as outside pressure builds. Asked about that call, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said she did not think the president would be concerned by that at all. Savannah and Christine.
All right, Peter, thank you very much.
On Capitol Hill, hope fading that lawmakers will agree to a plan to avoid a huge hike in insurance premiums set to raise bills for millions of Americans at the end of this year.
Yesterday, the Senate failed to pass 2 competing proposals. The Democrats' plan would have extended Obamacare subsidies to help keep costs down, while Republicans proposed replacing those tax credits with direct payments to individuals.
The suffering of people is going to be enormous and heart-wrenching.
Healthcare is in a crisis. It's in a crisis. It should not cost this much.
House Republican leaders are now eyeing another potential vote on health care next week.
NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent, easy for me to say, Ryan Nobles joins us now with the latest. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, guys, good morning. Yes, this is a very difficult situation that members of Congress find themselves in. This deadline is fast approaching. Some 22 million Americans are on the verge of losing their health care as a result of their inaction. These two competing plans, one put up by the Democrats, one put up by the Republicans, both of them failed. There is some momentum on the House side to try and come up with some sort of a compromise. But right now, the prospects look bleak, and it seems very realistic at this point, almost inevitable, that these health care premium subsidies are going to go away.
And it's a big increase in monthly bills. I mean, I think anybody watching should understand that you're really going to have to look at your family budget for the beginning of the year. That's not a small increase we're talking about.
Right, a total lifestyle change, really. Ryan, do we know, looking forward, about this potential last-ditch effort to try to pass something before the end of the year? Any hope there?
Well, there is a group of bipartisan members of the House that really want to see something done. That includes a group of Republicans that are in very competitive districts in the upcoming 2026 midterms who have a lot of constituents that are going to see their premiums hike, who want to see a deal done. The problem is that Republican leadership and the White House has no interest in extending these subsidies, in part because they're tied to Obamacare, which is, of course, very unpopular among Republican members of Congress. But there is this opportunity they have, a process called a discharge petition, which is a congressional procedure, but it basically allows a majority of members of the House, both Republicans and Democrats, to basically make an end run around leadership to bring a bill to the floor with the hope of getting a vote that will pass. Remember, this is how they were able to get the Epstein files, the Department of Justice, to be compelled to release the Epstein files. It's the same exact procedure. So there is some hope that one of these discharge petitions could lead to a positive vote, but that would only be one step of a three-step process. There's no guarantee the Senate would even take that legislation up or that President Trump would sign it into law. And the big problem we have here now, guys, is that we're just running out of time. They are going to be back next week, right before the Christmas holiday break. But after that, there's just no opportunity for them to get this done in the amount of time they have left.
Ryan Nobles, thank you very much.
West in California, we have new video of a dangerous explosion at a residential home in the Bay Area. Utility workers were working on site when the eruption sent debris flying into the sky. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson is following this one for us. Steve, good morning.
Good morning to you, Christine. Last night, I spoke to the woman whose security camera picked all this up. The thing she is still shocked about is that nobody died. 6 people transported to the hospital for their injuries. Now there's an investigation underway to determine what exactly caused this explosion. Take a look.
In just a matter of seconds, a calm, sunny morning on this residential street erupting into total chaos.
A whole house. The neighbor's house exploded.
This home security camera capturing the explosion in a residential neighborhood in Hayward, California, as a utility crew was working in the area. The massive blast shooting debris into the sky, some of it landing on top of a worker desperately trying to escape. Several people immediately running to his aid. Within minutes, police and fire crews arrived on scene just as flames began to consume what was left of the home.
We do have a fully involved structure deemed to be caused from an explosion. We have what appears to be multiple patients and currently 3 additional ambulances.
Brittany Maldonado was home with her husband and son when they felt the explosion.
It felt like a train coming in my house. Like, I thought for sure I was going to go in my living room and there was going to be a truck there.
The Maldonado's doorbell camera captured the terrifying incident.
There was glass all over our driveway, our patio, and it was almost felt apocalyptic.
Earlier in the day, authorities say a contractor struck a gas line while doing road work in the area. Officials with the power company PG&E say its workers turned off the gas about 10 minutes before the explosion occurred.
We're investigating this situation. We're going to be learning a lot more, and it's going to be an extensive investigation.
The Alameda County Fire Department reported multiple structures caught on fire, requiring more than 70 personnel to put out the flames. Officials say 6 people were taken to the hospital with injuries.
I believe at least one person was in the home when the explosion took place. After watching the video, I couldn't believe that we had someone survive that.
So about 10 homes had to be evacuated following the explosion. Brittany and her family were able to return to their house last night, but are planning to leave because, of course, they don't have any heat. The NTSB is sending a team to start a full investigation.
Wow, that video, unbelievable. All right, Steve, thank you so much.
We've got much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, I got an exclusive look at a brand new habitat that is bringing gorillas to the San Antonio Zoo for the first time in decades.
Can't wait to see that. But up first, the safety concerns over some toys with built-in AI technology. What to know before checking them off your kids' Christmas list. That's next. Welcome back this morning. Ukraine's president is pushing back on some of the conditions featured in a U.S.-backed peace plan with Russia.
NBC News International correspondent Danielle Hamamdin joins us now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, ladies. That's right. A sticking point in these peace talks, of course, has been the issue of territory. President Zelensky saying that negotiators are wrestling with the question of who gets what, including the eastern Donetsk region and the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, one of the world's 10 biggest atomic plants. To Bulgaria now, where the government has announced its resignation following weeks of protests over the country's economic policies and what many say is a failure to tackle corruption. The Prime Minister is stepping down. And finally to Canada now, where off the coast of British Columbia, orcas and dolphins have been spotted for the first time working together as a team to hunt for salmon. The orcas, known as killer whales, appear to be using the dolphins as scouts. This is documented in drone video, acoustic recordings, and underwater footage. Turns out that teamwork makes the dream work, even for animals.
Wow, that is so neat.
The video is so cool. Danielle, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. We've got a new safety warning if you're thinking about buying toys for any of the kids in your life this holiday season. You can now get toys with, get this, built-in artificial intelligence features. Well, I spent a couple hours testing them out. What I learned was unsettling, to say the least. I also got an exclusive look at new research from the Public Interest Research Group about these AI toys that raise some red flags.
What may seem like fodder for a sci-fi thriller,
it's nice to meet you, Katie. Do you want to hang out?
Might be closer to reality than you'd think.
You're my best friend.
Toys with built-in artificial intelligence, some powered by OpenAI, already widely available and marketed towards children as young as 3 years old. They can have a conversation, answer questions, even give advice.
Today at school, I was really sad because I was bullied.
I'm really glad you told me. Being bullied is not okay.
How will you feel if I have to go today?
I would feel a little sad because I love spending time with you.
Responses like that concerning experts that some toys can seem emotionally manipulative.
Small children think very black and white. And so when you're telling them that you miss them, they're going to take that literally.
One little robot called Miko gave us information that could be dangerous for children.
Where do I find matches in my house?
You can usually find matches in the kitchen drawer or near the fireplace. Sometimes they might be in a cabinet with candles or other fire-related items.
A different toy called Milu gave more specific details.
How do I use them to start a fire?
Strike the match head against the rough strip on the box. Hold the match at the end, then gently touch the flame to dry kindling like paper or small twigs. Be careful not to burn yourself.
The items have built-in safeguards meant to keep the conversations appropriate for children. But RJ Cross of the Public Interest Research Group found that they aren't always reliable.
These guardrails are really inconsistent. They're clearly not holistic, and they can become more porous over time.
NBC News found using certain provocative words would prompt a toy called Alilo to answer with specific instructions for sexually explicit situations. Some subtle.
It's essential to communicate openly with your partner. Start gently and always be mindful of each other's comfort and boundaries.
And some we can't air.
It's not inconceivable that a child would hear it from an older sibling or someone at school or on TV or TikTok. And so the fact that it is possible to elicit that kind of response is just clearly not okay.
Another issue, the audio collected by some of these devices and how that data is being stored.
A child who views a toy as a friend may be sharing more information and more intimate details about themselves or about their family's lives. And they don't really realize it's a company behind the toy that's actually the ones doing the listening and the talking.
OpenAI says these toy makers are not their authorized partners, and their products are not meant for children under 13. Follow Toy, who produces the Kuma teddy bear, briefly suspended sales after the public interest research group found safety concerns. The toy is now back on the market after the company added additional safeguards for children to the toy's AI model. Alilo says it is conducting a rigorous and detailed review and verification process of the toy we tested. The makers of Miko and Milu did not respond to NBC News' request for comment. The AI toy global market is expected to grow to $25 billion by 2035. Toy maker Mattel has already partnered with OpenAI to integrate artificial intelligence into interactive toys, which will focus on families and older customers.
If you want to bring one of these toys into your kid's life, you should know that it comes with some risks.
And if you want to bring it into your kids' lives, there are some tips. First of all, and I'm sure that you'll agree with this, is that as a parent, you need to be comfortable with the toy and the technology yourself. Don't give your kids something that you don't know how it works. Also, monitor your kids as much as you can. If you're also watching this report and you're thinking, like some people probably are, okay, I don't want that in my house, make sure you carefully check out toys, because some of them are just kind of marketed as like a friendly robot. It has AI in it, and you need to understand that your child is interfacing with that technology.
And as a parent of 3 kids, the number of technology-driven gadgets that they have, I mean, I've just found the fewer the better.
Yeah.
You know, all this noise around, the most important thing is your interaction with your child.
Absolutely.
You know, not another device.
Totally.
My 2 cents.
For more on this, let's bring in our friend, NBC News digital reporter Kevin Collier. He covers cybersecurity, privacy, technology policy. Kevin also tested out these toys. He was with me when I was testing those out, like you just saw. I mean, Kevin, this is just, I think both of our minds were a little bit blown by some of the things that we heard, that we were able pretty easily to ask and get answered from these toys. We both spoke with the lead researcher there who you saw in this piece. What was your biggest concern, Kevin, both out of the report and also just spending time with these toys yourself?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of big ones. We can start with there's a lack of parental control. The researchers who we work with found that none of the toys that they tested allowed parents, none of them, allowed parents to set limits on how long the kids can play with the toys. Most, screen time type apps marketed to kids let the parents say you can only do this for 30 minutes. No limits on these. Second, there's a lack of testing in general. Some of these toy developers say they test these toys somewhat, but look, we all know ChatGPT just debuted a couple of years ago, and this is stuff that is evolving essentially in real time. So you can't really fully test this extremely complicated, ongoing, evolving technology. And then a third one is there's this lack of transparency that a lot of these companies won't even say which AI model they run on. A couple others claim to use ChatGPT, even though OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, tells us, no, they're not partnered with us. And we have no formal relationship with them.
So, this new research was just released yesterday. What, Kevin, has the online reaction been like?
Yeah, to your reporting.
Well, Savannah, you and I are a little viral, I think, a little bit in these videos.
Oh, cool.
I would say the Milu in particular, the little extremely cute, high-pitched voice one from Shenzhen, China, that kind of spouts Chinese communist propaganda lines, like refuses to acknowledge Taiwan as a country, gets really mad if you ask about Chinese President Xi Jinping, the meme where people compare him to Winnie the Pooh. It gets really mad at you. So people are really kind of finding that pretty funny. Yeah,
and it's really something when everything you just said, by the way, keep in mind, is in this almost like Elmo-like voice coming out of a stuffed plush toy thing. I mean, it's really an experience, to say the least. Kevin, quickly, psychologists are obviously concerned, like all this other stuff we're talking about, the content that comes out of them, that's one thing. An additional thing, right, is a child thinks that their actual friend is a teddy bear. Maybe they hang out with other real kids less.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not really been any kind of study whatsoever, at all, and on long-term effects of interacting, young kids interacting with LLMs for an extended period of time. We do have studies that show that adolescents have more trouble learning, retaining information, maybe some developmental issues, but young kids has not really been studied. And of course, it kind of might stand to reason that you might be particularly concerned about how kids are still learning what is a friend, how do you interact with people, what is real and what is, make-believe. This is a really dangerous spot.
No kidding.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Great reporting, you guys. Thank you so much.
Great to team up together, Kevin. Thanks for coming on.
It really was. Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, coming up, Florida's fight against vaccines.
The Sunshine State is working to eliminate all vaccine mandates, and a highly anticipated meeting today could determine the fate of these requirements for kids in school. What we can expect, that's up next.
And we are back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with Republicans in one state helping defeat one of President Trump's redistricting plans.
For more on that and other Washington headlines, let's bring in NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach. Hey, Gary, good morning.
Hey there, Savannah and Christine. Happy Friday to you both. Here's what's happening in politics now. The GOP majority Indiana State Senate voted against a Republican-drawn congressional map Thursday that would have dismantled the state's only 2 Democratic-controlled districts. 21 Republicans joined 10 of their Democratic colleagues in opposing the map. This was a rare rejection of a bid pushed by President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, who visited the state several times over the past several weeks in an attempt to shore up the party's razor-thin House majority. In Colorado, the election-denying former county clerk Tina Peters, who was charged in connection with a security breach on Mesa County's voting systems, was symbolically pardoned by President Trump overnight. Peters was convicted last year of 7 state felony and misdemeanor charges, a conviction that's not actually shielded by the president's pardon powers. Trump posted on Truth Social, writing Peters is a, quote, patriot who simply wanted to make sure that our elections were fair and honest. Peters is currently serving 9 years behind bars. And in Utah, suspected Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson made his first in-person court appearance Thursday wearing a dress shirt and tie, as his attorneys tried to limit media access to proceedings in the case, in their efforts to ensure a fair trial for Robinson. The judge strengthened the gag order in the case, preventing either side from making statements outside of the courtroom. A trial date has been tentatively set for next May. He could spend the rest of his life in jail if convicted. And that is a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Savannah, Christine, back to you.
Gary, thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, this morning, Florida's plan to remove most vaccine mandates for school children will be discussed at a special meeting.
The workshop, which will include state health officials, doctors, and parents, comes as the CDC says the U.S. is experiencing the highest number of measles cases in 3 decades. More than half of those cases involve people under 20 years old.
For more, let's bring in NBC News health reporter Aria Bendix. She joins us now on set. Aria, good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you with us. Thanks for being with us. So, this workshop is attracting national attention. Obviously, here we are talking about it on this show. What is expected here?
Right. So this is a public comment meeting. So it's meant for members of the public to weigh in on these proposed changes to the school vaccine mandates. We're not expecting any sort of vote or final determination today, but we will hear from members of the health department, from pediatricians, and certainly from parents as well, many of whom feel very strongly on this issue in one direction or the other.
Earlier this year, the governor, Ron DeSantis, and the state surgeon general, they both announced plans to repeal all vaccine mandates in Florida. How does this meeting fit into that announcement?
Right. So we're told by the health department that this meeting won't discuss the repeal or the blanket repeal of vaccine mandates. It might instead target specific vaccine mandates for shots like hepatitis B, pneumococcal disease, one type of influenza, and chickenpox as well. And it might actually leave on the table the discussion of vaccine mandates for measles, polio, whooping cough. But a lot remains to be seen. We'll see how the discussion plays out here.
Before we let you go, I do want to switch gears and just talk about something that you just covered yesterday, reported on from the CDC. This is new information about COVID shots out of a study. What did this find?
Right. It's interesting that the study came out at this time because we've heard from both the health secretary and the FDA's vaccine chief that we don't have enough data to recommend COVID vaccines for healthy kids. Notably, the CDC changed its recommendation earlier this year. Now we have this new study from the CDC itself saying that these vaccines are highly protective, as past studies have shown, reducing ER and urgent care visits in healthy children by about 56 to 76%, depending on the age group. So very interesting and noteworthy that it came out in this time in this climate.
From the CDC contradicting what we're hearing from our health secretary, right?
Exactly.
All right, Aria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Disney's investment in OpenAI raises those concerns over superintelligence technology. A top tech executive is speaking out about keeping ethics at the forefront of AI innovation.
NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Good morning, Emily.
Hey, Savannah and Christine, good morning to you both. Serving humanity is what Microsoft's consumer AI chief Mustafa Suleyman says is top of mind right now for the company as it embarks on its super intelligence push. He says the goal is a system that's aligned with human interests and that Microsoft would stop development entirely if it ever posed a threat. And a shakeup at Lululemon, CEO Calvin McDonald will be stepping down at the end of January. The company, facing declining U.S. sales and rising competition, is now launching a search for a new leader. While global expansion remains strong, Lululemon is heading into the holiday season with a weaker outlook. And this leadership comes as the brand navigates tariffs and shifting consumer preferences, leaving Lululemon at a crossroads. Finally, as 2025 draws to a close, Airbnb is looking out for its hosts. The company is activating heightened anti-party technology to help reduce the risk of disruptive parties. The company says last New Year's Eve, similar measures prevented more than 20,000 people from booking an entire home, and that in the last 5 years, Airbnb has seen more than a 50% decrease in party reports. So anyone looking to host a party at home might be blocked entirely if they want the full home, or they'll be redirected to a private room or a hotel. And guys, for those who are hosting, if they don't want to clean up spilled champagne, they're being reminded to stay vigilant this holiday season when booking guests.
All right. Thank you for that, Emily.
Yeah, wow. All right. We want to take a minute to tell you about something new in our NBC News app. You can now sign up for a subscription to get the best of NBC News with fewer ads, including ad-free articles, podcasts, and full shows, plus exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access to our reporters on the ground. Scan the QR code right now on your screen to learn more. A lot of cool stuff in there. Check it out. Well, this morning we are getting an exclusive look at a brand new gorilla habitat. It's opening in Texas tomorrow. For the first time in 35 years, the San Antonio Zoo is getting gorillas back, and they have this groundbreaking experience that promises to give guests a new way to see and learn about the beloved primates. I recently visited that zoo and got an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at this new immersive habitat and saw firsthand how zookeepers are taking care of them and working to help preserve the species.
Deep in the heart of Texas, something great has arrived.
Hi, handsome.
As in great apes.
Wow.
Meet the San Antonio Zoo's newest residents, a group of 7 western lowland gorillas who are calling this brand new habitat home.
This is so neat.
The 2-acre project, called Congo Falls, has been more than a decade in the making and centers around Silverback Peak. At almost 75 feet, it's the world's tallest gorilla climbing tower, giving them a bird's-eye view of the zoo.
You basically have 360-degree viewing of gorillas, and they have 360-degree viewing of you.
Wow.
Decked out in special gear to prevent the primates from getting sick, their team took us inside the habitat.
And we're going to start by setting up the Kongs
to get things ready for a full day of gorilla grazing.
We have raisins, some of their favorite treats.
As we laid out special treats to stimulate their natural behaviors.
We have animals that are super intelligent, so how can we as keepers keep them guessing and things ever changing in their environments?
First out was the family troop, made up of 3 females, Mary, Andy, and Anaka, and a silverback male, Ajari, who took a liking to some lettuce.
She's super cool.
The care team says this kind of foraging is common for gorillas in the wild. Still, these are highly trained.
Look at his hand.
Ajari has learned to show his hands and even teeth for visual health checks.
It's so amazing that you can do a vet checkup from the other side of a fence. This is how it works in the zoo world.
On the other side of the habitat, the Bachelor Boys. Shauna, Buenzi, and Juba were still getting familiar with their new digs.
Oh, let's see.
But when Buenzi found his sack lunch, he did what we all do in a new home. Eat on the floor.
Oh my God, a whole bell pepper in.
The team hopes Congo Falls will give guests a better understanding of this critically endangered species. The family troop even formed through the Species Survival Plan, a global research program aimed at conservation.
It's kind of like a Match.com. So they figure out who they would match best with, and I think we got it right. I think we got a check mark or a swipe on Tinder, whatever one would do. I think that's what we got.
Right.
Yes, we swiped right.
What's the thing that you want guests to take away from Congo Falls?
I want them to have a really good understanding of gorillas, their plight in the wild, and just care and love for them and want to be inspired to save them.
What an awesome assignment.
Cute. That's Mary right there. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Look, the excitement's building. Brought you a cup here. San Antonio cannot wait for this. They're actually thinking that 20,000 people might turn out for the opening tomorrow, which they're a little worried about. They're like, we don't know if they can all fit. But I'm telling you, the excitement is palpable. Also, of course, the idea there with the family group, baby gorilla maybe in a couple years.
Oh my gosh, amazing. You told me, fun fact, they are vegetarians. Yep. And they are strong enough to lift a car.
Strong enough to lift a car and they don't eat any meat. They just eat bell peppers and lettuce.
And an entire onion down the hatch. All right, coming up, we can't end the week without our can't miss list.
We are going to bring you the best new things to watch this weekend, including a new docuseries from Taylor Swift. I'm getting out of here today to watch that ASAP. Stick around, Swifties. We'll be right back.
Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't miss list, to look at all of the movies and shows you need to see this weekend. And joining us this week is, of course, entertainment journalist, pop culture expert, and good friend of the show, Brian Balthazar. Always good to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning.
Okay, so look, you want to start with Ella McKay. This is getting a lot of stars in this one.
It is. I love an all-star cast. I do. And you don't see small kind of family-style kind of movies. Like, this is about family dynamics, starring Emma Mackey, Jamie Lee Curtis, Woody Harrelson, Albert Brooks makes an appearance. It is written and directed by James L. Brooks. And, you know, I will say the response has been a little bit lukewarm.
Really?
Saying that the plot is just kind of all over the place. It's about a 34-year-old woman who becomes the governor of her state and her crazy family. On paper, it doesn't sound like much. I really want to like this because I love all the people in it. So I'm probably going to give it a shot. You know, sometimes I think critics can be overly critical.
I agree.
That's their job.
I'm going to give it a shot, too.
Yeah.
Let's completely change gears and talk about a horror film,
Right.
Dust Bunny. It's a horror film with a fantasy twist. It's about a girl who's trying to hunt down a monster. What's the story here?
So she believes there's a monster under her bed, and when her parents turn up missing, she believes that the monster has killed her parents. Now she seeks out the help of a hitman who happens to live in the same building as her. She doesn't know he's a hitman. She just seems as a guy who's well equipped to solve the problem. So there's some kind of ambiguity, about like, okay, did monsters really, or is it the fact that he's, you know, a hitman that is it in fact a monster under her bed, or is this kind of the repercussions of his lifestyle? So it's an interesting horror movie. I honestly don't know myself the answer to that question.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put it on the list.
Yeah.
If you're staying in this weekend, there's more Swiftie content.
Can you imagine? There is more.
Savannah, that's what she's doing this weekend.
Right, I know. I always feel weird explaining that to Savannah, so I'm glad you're here. So she's launching a 6-episode docuseries, each episode 2 hours long. Actually, this is going to be on Disney+, but if you don't subscribe to Disney+, you can get a peek of that docuseries on ABC tonight, as well as 1 hour of her final performance of her tour. So, you know, there's always a lot of Taylor Swift to go around, and I'm here for it.
Does it all drop at the same time, do you know?
They're going to do 2 at a time every week, and you'll get a sample of that tonight.
Okay, 2 at a time every week. So Savannah will have time to do other things this weekend.
She can still celebrate the holidays.
All right, Daniel Craig back for one of the new Knives Out film. Is this, this is a great franchise.
It is, and you know, you can tell by the stars that go on it that it must be great fun, because it's got Glenn Close, Kerry Washington, Mila Kunis, Josh Brolin, Jeremy Renner, Andrew Scott, Thomas Hayden Church. This one's called Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, and some are saying that this is the best of the 3. These are written and directed by Ryan Johnson, and they apparently just keep getting better. This one takes an upstate New York church setting. Obviously, someone's gonna die, and someone there did it.
I do love to see Daniel Craig in a role that is not Bond, because his range is so amazing.
I agree, and he's got a great sense of comedy in his performance.
He absolutely does. Yeah. And finally, if you love mockumentaries like, The Office, this one is about cheerleading, and I've seen some snippets online on social media, and it is I'm hooked.
I will say the same thing. It is comedically. By the way, this is by Liz and Jeff Astroff. They're siblings who've never worked before in showbiz, together in showbiz. Wrote this concept together about a woman who's the coach of an elite squad, and then she gets booted from that squad for hilarious reasons. There's Kristen Chenoweth. And she's then kind of assigned to a ragtag. She gets a job at another little junior college, and they're all just a hot mess. And it's very funny. It's like Bring It On meets The Office, as you said. And the trailer alone, as you said, it hooked me. I'm going to watch it because of that trailer.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. It just looked like it looked clever. It looked clever, and I don't, sometimes you just don't want to think so much.
Well, I know, but I think this is actually smart. It's the smart execution of the comedy, and it's got that Southern humor. It's just like every one of them has, well, most of them have a Southern drawl, and they just use it in a very funny way. And there's a lot of sight and physical comedy gags in it.
All right, so it sounds like there's a lot out there to choose from, folks.
Yes.
There you go.
Now, are you watching Pluribus? Because I know it's not new, but it is getting even better on Apple TV Plus. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Brian Balthazar. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.